what are your goals and how are you going to get there? If you put it down on paper and you say, hey, I'm going to do 1 million in sales this year, you'll find a way to do 1 million in sales this year. And doing that is far better than not doing it. Even if you do 950,000 this year, at least we had a goal. We were striving towards something. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day stuff without looking at the big picture. As a business owner, your job is really to try and create the vision and the roadmap on where you're going to get to where you want to go.
Welcome to the Maven Marketing Podcast. Today is Maven Monday. This is the place where we help you eliminate waste in advertising, grow your business, and achieve the big dream. Today I'm joined by a dreamer, an entrepreneur, a servant, and a leader you definitely need to know. Mark Long is a serial entrepreneur, 2-time franchise founder, and just an all-around heck of a good man. And thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Excited.
Yeah. Mark and I had the pleasure of meeting in a Rotary and then a number of other nonprofit organizations. And you're going to hear his story in just a minute. And it's actually, this is the fun part for you and everybody, is I get to read all these good things about you while I'm sitting across the table. Does that sound like fun?
Can I leave then?
Yeah, you can leave and come back.
Okay.
But it is the obligatory bio reading. I'll just get it out of the way.
Okay.
Mark Long is an innovative and versatile professional with extensive knowledge of multiple industries, experienced in managing large and small group dynamics, as well as leading, mentoring, and motivating. He is recognized for his ability to formulate strategic solutions to complex situations for the benefit of satisfaction of staff and customers. After serving in the United States Marine Corps, thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
He dedicated 29 years to the Orange County Sheriff's Department. We're going to hear some of those stories. Leading every corner of the department and retiring captain of the North Ops Division, leading strategy, accountability, focus, and evaluation. After his law enforcement career, he continued to serve as a consultant on law enforcement technology and leadership, being featured as a keynote speaker for Microsoft, holy smokes, and other technology organizations. In 2018, with 3 decades of leadership experience, he reinvented himself once again as an entrepreneur by founding the Garage Experts franchise in Missouri with his wife, Shelley. After 6 years, they sold their Garage Experts location and are now on to their next business model, custom home organization with 417 closets. He's bearing the badge proudly today. Guys, I'm so excited for Mark to share his experience with you and the lessons learned as he's continually reinvented himself and pursued excellence in both public and private sectors. And I think it's so rare that someone, after all those years, reinvent yourself as an entrepreneur, and not only once, but twice. And I'm just seeing that, looking out across the troops, as they say, of the entrepreneurial world, the owner-operators that we love so dearly and the ones that we serve on this podcast, there's just an overstimulation, a disorientation happening at all levels, and it's not any one person's fault, and it's not that we're defeated, but I think there are weary warriors out there, and you just have such a fresh optimism about you, and you've done this multiple times. And so I think that everyone can use a fresh American entrepreneur story. I'm hoping to dissect a little bit of your energy today and transfer it to our tribe here. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's excited to be here. I'd like to talk about this.
Yeah, a California guy landing in Missouri.
Yes.
Did you intend for that to happen?
No. If you would have told me I was going to move to Missouri 20 years ago, I'd tell you you're out of your mind. Couldn't find Missouri on a map. And quite frankly, I was snobbish Californian. I used to think there's 2 types of people in the world, Californians and those that want to be.
Oh, wow.
Well, and California has like 12 or 13% of the population of the country. Yeah. So there were a lot of people moving to California. I grew up there. It was a beautiful place to grow up. But since I've moved to the Midwest, I feel more at home here in the 10 years that I've been here than I did in the 53 years prior to living in Southern California.
Well, point for Missouri.
Yes, point for Missouri. And people talk about the weather and the weather and the weather, and that's really the selling feature of Southern California, because the negative side of that balance sheet is there's traffic and pollution and population and politics and the high cost of living, and it's just really a hard life. living there. And so you
Yeah,
come
you got to
here,
shed all of that, and
you come here, and people are friendly, people are nice. It's easier to live here than it is there. There's not the traffic concerns. Everything you need is here. And like I say, I like the people here. I feel an affinity towards them. So you and I sat at a fundraiser together, and we didn't know each other, and yet we had a great conversation and had a great time.
And here we are.
And here we are. So I love being in.
Well, that's the Midwest way.
It is.
And welcome. I think you fit right in. I would have never picked you out as one of those folks from out there. And I do love California, but
I was told when we first came out here, don't mention you're from Southern California.
SoCal ain't so bad. It's those other areas you gotta be. But hey, we have Californians on here. We love them, and we serve businesses all over coast to coast. So, what I want to know is, man, you I'm going to guess after a 30-year career like that, you didn't have to work anywhere. You didn't have to, put the labor into building a business.
Nope.
Why and how did you first choose to be an entrepreneur? And then I'm going to ask you, what drew you to home service and particularly garage experts?
Well, you and I were talking earlier about, kind of my traumatic childhood. I never had any money. So what drew me to that? No, I don't have to work, but I made a list of everything that really makes me happy. I like people. I like relationships. I like improving things. Someone said you should always leave things better than what you found them. And I always want to do that. I want to leave something behind where, hey, you know what? It's better as a result of you being there. So how do you take it? You can't retire at 53. I don't golf. I don't fish. So it's like, what are you going to do? So
I'll be bored. Yeah,
I'm going to be bored. So you look at that and go, okay, what's your skill set, and what do you like to do? It's funny because I've been studying happiness for the last 2 years. I've probably read about 15 books on happiness. I've listened to all kinds of podcasts on it. I'm a student of happiness.
Wow.
I didn't realize this 10 years ago when I was doing this survey, but part of it is it's not a bad way of going. What makes you happy? What are the things that you do in life that cause your happiness? Do more of those and do less of the things that make you unhappy. It's not real hard.
Sounds like simple math, right?
It is. And so I like relationships. I like people. I like being able to give something back. When you're a business owner, you have resources that other people don't have. I can when we own Garage Experts, we donated a lot of different floors to different causes. And it allowed people to raise money. You give discounts for different things. So, and then how I got into that business is I've always been a do-it-yourselfer. And I ended up, when I moved out here, there wasn't really not many people doing epoxy floors.
Huh.
I had one in California. It was a pretty standard. If you lived in a nice house, you had an epoxy floor in California. You come out here, it doesn't have the same degree of acceptance.
Yeah, it didn't catch on yet.
It didn't catch on.
It's you folks out on the coast that teach us what's cool.
Well, and the Sunbelt states, Florida, everybody has an epoxy floor there. Phoenix, all those areas have it. You come out here, and I don't know, because of the weather or whatever, people don't think that it's a viable option. And I did my own, and then when I looked around at owning a business, it was a natural fit.
So I want to dig into something, and we may go ahead and change the title of the episode just on what you said. The student of happiness, how to be happy. I think so many leaders have a craft that they're naturally inclined towards, and maybe have a skill set that they've capitalized and built on, and then that's just the thing. Well, they might as well go do that, and they might as well do the business for themselves because they can make more money, and that's maybe the foundational why. You didn't really have any of that. Not career-wise.
No.
That natural passion and just like occurrence to go, well, this feels right, and I want to go do that for people. And the impact you can make, that was foundational to your business. And I happen to know it was a very successful business, and I happen to know, you were able to get out of that and make good money and all of that stuff. But did I hear from you that sort of came secondary?
Yes. I think when you're starting a business, you do what you have to do to survive. when we first started the business, there were days I had one employee and we had nothing to do. And that is a really scary proposition. The biggest challenge, especially starting off, was how do you take your workload and match it to your staffing levels? Because if there's no work to do, you don't want to send the employee home because they're going to go find another job really quickly. And you spent a lot of time training them and teaching them what it is you want them to learn about how to run the business. So, I mean, we pressure washed people's floors. I moved furniture. We did all kinds of things that we would never do later on. Stay in your lane, bro. But we got out of our lane out of necessity.
Yeah.
But as the business grows and as you start to refine your processes, there's jobs that you won't do.
Yeah.
But part of it is as you get a little bit older, then you start to sit back and go, okay, what are our, I'm a big proponent of SWOT analysis. What are our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats? And as you get more seasoned, as you get more customers, you become more discerning. You can look at your operation and be a little more critical about it.
Yeah.
So
you saw this through the vantage point of, I built a career. I'm in and out of that. I've got the freedom. I'm going to pick home service. I'm going to pick this thing that I have natural strengths at.
I don't think it went that way.
It didn't. No.
I think, like you talked about, I moved out here 10 years ago. Didn't know anybody. Didn't have anything to do. I ended up working for a software company for a couple of years, but in doing that, I realized that's not what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to do law enforcement because 30 years of it, I was done with it. So it's more of a let me eliminate this, let me eliminate that. What's left? I knew I wanted to be a business owner. I didn't want to have to go work for someone else.
Okay.
So then you go, okay, do you want to own a franchise or do you want to start a business from scratch? Because then those are your two choices.
Right.
Franchising offers certain opportunities that starting your own business, and at an advanced age that I am, hey, you don't have as long a runway to build that business. So I opted for the franchise model. Garage Experts is a great franchise model. They're a great franchise partner, and you build the business from that. And you build it one customer at a time. When I got done with training, I was a Garage Expert franchisee, but I didn't feel like an expert. So I went out to Texas to the franchisee out there because he's the most prolific franchisee in Garage Experts catalog.
Yeah.
And I rode with his guys for a couple of weeks. And when I left there, then I felt like an expert.
So you got to see it firsthand.
Right. Hey, what does their day look like?
Yeah.
Let me walk through their day.
So it's a natural step I think a lot of entrepreneurs take out of the gate, certainly ones who are copying a model or looking to fast forward and get off the ground without a long runway. Man, what if we did that as business owners 10 years in? You and I were talking about mentorship earlier.
Yes.
And having that constant drive, and without mentioning too many specifics, you went from like nothing to a really successful business. I've seen a lot of startups over the years. I've seen a lot of home improvement companies, and to do what I think you got to takes some people well into 10, 15 years, and you did it faster. On the topic of creating a profit center, we're talking, that's kind of the actual title of the episode today. Like, how crucial was that mentorship and modeling after others for you?
Well, for me, it was huge. That's one of the biggest appeals of franchising is you have a lot of people that have been there, done that. Any question that you had, you send out to the group, you would get a response right away. The downside, though, is every market's different. I was fortunate enough. My wife had a lot of marketing background, and she's very good at tracking where our leads came from and how to generate additional leads, and so we kept very close tabs on where are we getting our business? How do we generate more business? We're constantly questioning that. What market do we go into? What medium do we try and expand our business without breaking the bank? That's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
You want business, so you have to advertise, but you don't want to ever spend on advertising if you don't have any business.
Right. Right. Chicken and the
So,
egg. Yeah.
yeah, it's chicken and the egg idea. But we saw steady growth, and as you see steady growth, then it creates other opportunities.
So you'd mentioned you were spending, I mean, in this market, I'm obviously very familiar with, but under 6 figures a year in advertising.
Correct.
You generated a lot more business than most people do with that type of budget.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hunch as to why that happened, but do you have any
Yes.
insight as to why you were able to do that? Because one of my favorite quotes on marketing is that advertising is just a tax we pay for being unremarkable.
Wow.
And the inverse of that is that the more remarkable you are, the less you have to advertise.
Mm-hmm.
Now, pair that with advertising actually will just make happen what was going to happen anyway faster.
Right.
But you made it happen without that abundance, I think.
Mm-hmm.
My world, at least my perspective. What say you on that?
Well, I told you I went 2 weeks and spent in Texas, and the franchisee there told me the more jobs you do, the more jobs you do.
Mm.
And so it kind of is a snowball effect. As long as the jobs that you do are done professionally and to the satisfaction of the customer.
I love that.
I was on every job. I think personally on every job. Up to the day we sold. The last week that we had it, I was out installing the floor, and
that's rare.
It is rare.
It's rare.
But the customers here in the Midwest, they like to see the owner out on the job.
Mm-hmm.
They like to know your name. You know, I told you I moved here 10 years ago, didn't know a soul. Now I go around this town, and
you're a big deal. Yeah.
We did over 1,000 jobs,
Wow.
over 1,000 floors. And so it's hard to go anywhere in this town without running into someone who's a former customer or a member of the Rotary that we were in, or some of the other groups that I belong to.
Yeah.
And that really gives you a sense, going back to happiness, gives you a sense of place. It gives you a sense of belonging that, I take a lot of pride in the jobs that I do. We did floors. If a customer wasn't happy, we redid floors at a loss because we were adamant about making sure that we're building our reputation about doing a quality job.
So I'm talking to the guy or gal who may be driving in their truck or on the job or working the grind of the lead generation. It's harder than it has been the last few years. We've talked about that on this show. Something as simple as the more jobs you do, the more jobs you do. I think it's so, that doesn't sound new and profound. However,
it's not.
What if we got back to, we're just trying to do jobs. We're trying to make people's experience exceptional in that way that I've seen you show up. You actually did a job for my in-laws and did such a awesome job on that. So I know that's true about your company. Realistically, this is a podcast about marketing and sales and growth. What were the challenges to growth, even though, it looks like success from 6 years behind, but what were the milestones and some things that you maybe didn't expect?
One of the things I used to say is the days are long, but the years are short. In hindsight, you could look back and go, oh, well, we were successful, and it wasn't easy. It was constantly trying to figure out, once again, the biggest challenge always is how do you take your workload and match it with your labor force? Because that's really a challenge. I pride myself on being efficient. I don't like downtime. That's why I started a business so early, since I just sold the other one. I'm not good with idle time, and I'm not good with employees sitting around not doing anything. So I'm always constantly, how do I fill this week up? So those were one of the biggest challenges. Another biggest challenge is what are your goals and how are you going to get there? Super goal oriented. But I also truly believe that if you put it down on paper and you say, hey, I'm going to do 1 million in sales this year, you'll find a way to do 1 million in sales this year.
Yeah.
And doing that is far better than not doing it, even if you fall short.
Yeah.
Even if you do 950,000 this year.
Yeah, it's a stretch goal, right?
At least we had a goal. We were striving towards something. What I would say is it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day stuff without looking at the big picture. And as a business owner, your job is really trying to create the vision and the roadmap on where you're going to get to where you want to go.
Yeah. Sounds to me like you had a ton of respect from your team, and you were able to ingrain that vision and remind them of it constantly by your example. I think there's a lot of people that may get caught up in the finances or the back office, and they forget that connection with their frontline folks. I read a quote today that says, "Where do you find hardworking people that are dedicated, loyal, and productive? You find them on your team.
Right?
They exist there." Sounds like that's what you did so well. And
I read that same quote. I just can't remember where it was.
Yeah, I think it was Don Harkey actually.
That's exactly on Facebook.
Yeah. It was great. So shout out to Don for that. But so you chose garages just because it had a natural, Venn diagram alignment with who you are, and that's just
actually it's a process of elimination. I didn't want to be a Subway owner. No offense to Subway owners. I just didn't want to be in the food service industry.
I have some good friends that are Subway owners. And I don't want to be Subway owners either.
I didn't want to have a mobile dog grooming. No offense to mobile dog grooming. There's just when you look, I did a lot of research. What franchises are available? And the home services just really appeals to me because going back to I like improvement. I take a lot of pride in my own house.
Yeah.
And I like helping other people improve theirs.
Yeah. So you're right now, your business is doing whatever it is right now. And it's probably maybe a little harder than it has been. On the topic of inventing new profit machines, go back to that passion. It's like, do more of what makes you happy. Maybe there's a customer set. Maybe there's a type of person you've been serving. Maybe it's an employee you don't align with. It's like studying happiness. Choose those things less. Get out of them and lean into the strength part of it. That seems like a key ingredient to.
Well, there's big fan of the Happiness Lab by Dr. Laurie Santos. And what she talks about, she had a segment on there that basically if you're unhappy, if you look around and your circumstances aren't what you want them to be, you have to change. Okay? You can't expect the world to change around you. And so going back to, hey, why am I starting a new business or why am I creating this? It's more driven by I want to make myself happy. And those things that make me happy are relationships with people, creating something that is lasting, leaving a house better than what I found it, and giving the customer satisfaction. Money is a secondary concern.
Byproduct.
It's a byproduct.
Yeah.
And I want to learn new skills. We hung a lot of cabinets in garages, but the new company is different.
Yeah.
And it takes a different skill set and it's a different product. And some of the closets that I've done have turned out awesome. And man, customers are very happy. And it's like, oh, I'm doing what I love to do. So.
Yeah. Love that. So find the parts you love. So talk to me about that new business. So you built a franchise, sold it, which I'm going to ask you your advice on that in just a second.
Okay.
But what are some of the things you are for sure going to do again in your new business, and some things that you are sure you're not going to do in starting a new profit center?
the things that I'm going to do, I'm going to focus on meeting the customer's needs, seeing what it is they want. There's a book I read a couple years ago called The Organized Mind. And one of the things they talk about is if you want to be organized, they talk about the complexity of modern society and how it's grown. And they give a lot of examples from, 200 years ago, things were simple.
Yeah.
And 200 years later, things are very complex. And our mind hasn't been able to keep up with it. So you have to create systems that allow your mind to offload. So where do I put my car keys? Where do I put my wallet? How do I not lose these things? And so you have to become organized. There's a lot of there's a lot of research that says the more you get rid of, the more you offload, the happier you become
Man.
because your mind isn't cluttered. You don't wake up at 3:00 in the morning trying to solve, where this is or where that is. I'm not quite a minimalist yet, but I'm approaching
That's
it.
a hack though, because
Really-
energy is a finite tank. You think about the guys like Steve Jobs, or I think even Zuckerberg. They wear the same thing
Exactly.
every day, so they have.
That's it. Einstein did the same thing. He wore the same suit.
I'll not give my energy to that because I can save it for other things.
Right.
That's a
because
huge hack for entrepreneurs.
You really do have a finite ability to think about things, and when you're worried about mundane things, it really clouds your mind. Obama used to say, "I wear a gray suit or a blue suit." Period.
Yeah.
I have too many decisions to make. I don't want to worry about what tie I'm going to wear.
Yeah.
And so
he may have had a few people to help him with those decisions. But.
He did, but you still are the one having to put it on, and you still have to think about it. And bottom line is the more we can download those things that we don't want to have to think about on a regular basis, the more you could focus in on really what's important. So what's important for me, and going back to I know it's important to create a profit center. I know it's important to make money. I got a book here. The purpose is profit. That's the whole idea that the purpose is profit. And this guy talks about how to start a business and the things that you need to take into consideration. I'm not your typical business owner in the sense that I'm not starting a business to make money. I'm starting a business to fulfill a need, both in my customer and myself, and money, I believe, will follow.
There's guys here that are just shaking their head going, this guy's, smoking grass or something because he's, unicorns and rainbows. But let's just say that you got the proof. Now, you may have had the luxury of not having to worry so much about the dollars and cents for living. I'm not sure if that's the situation or not, but look at the proof though. That's how you started it.
Right.
And the profit was a byproduct. And what if we could just suddenly...
But one of the principles that I try and follow is you always operate ethically. You always do what's right for the customer. People always talk about, hey, if you find your passion, do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I don't believe that. It was hard work because I enjoyed it. I had a lot of passion for it. It was still work. However, if you approach it like all of capitalism is about fulfilling a need, fulfilling a want, and doing it more efficiently and cheaper than the competition. That's Adam Smith. That's the bottom line of capitalism. So if you start off with that mindset and you find whether it's a viable business, do I have enough clients? Is there enough business in this area to support what it is I'm trying to do? Can I provide this service that customers want, that they're willing to pay for? And you do it the right way, people will flock to you. A lot of people that I've talked to that have been successful business people don't advertise at all. They say, hey, I've been doing this for so long, it's just word of mouth.
Yeah.
That's how I operate. But because they do a good job, the more jobs you do, the more jobs you do. And if you do a job well.
So the more you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've met a lot of those people. We actually love those people that come to us with businesses that grew without marketing. Because, dude, you pour a tiny bit on it and they explode like wildfire. The book that I wrote, The Maven Marketer, the whole premise of the book is encountering business owners, and then me as the marketing guru trying and failing, and realizing that the businesses that were growing, it wasn't marketing doing it all along. It was strategy and their approach and what we call their vision, values, and vows. And you probably have never written or read our book. I'm going to get you a copy of it, but you're doing that. You're articulating that from your own experience, and I think it's true, and it's a good data point, good validation to have, because that's what we see over and over and over again. So I have a couple final questions just for somebody. I want so much for people to experience business the way you're experiencing it, because, dude, I'm watching you like a kid in a candy store with this new company, and it's you're remodeling closets, and sounds like a thing is organization you're bringing to people's lives. But and what a hack! Like removing complexity is the answer to more energy. But you sold the business
Hmm.
that you had built.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for somebody who wants to get to that point?
Try and make your business as attractive as possible by keeping good books, number one. There's a lot of people that do things that are trying to avoid taxes and regulation and everything else, but that doesn't translate into taxable income. When you're selling your business, you're selling one of two things. You're selling the cash flow from that business, or you're selling the assets of that business. If the business is losing money, all you're doing, the only asset the business has are the physical assets, the equipment, the vehicles,
Maybe some
the
of the intellectual
inventory,
property.
maybe some of the intellectual. But if you're losing money on it, then what's that worth?
Yeah.
If you're profitable, you're selling cash flow. And so you want to, if you're getting ready to sell a business, you want to maximize the amount that your business shows in terms of cash flow. Because as a business buyer, that's what I'm buying.
Yeah.
I'm looking for opportunity for growth, obviously.
Right.
Hey, is this business poorly managed? Can I do a better job managing it and increase the sales? But right now, hey, and it's always a percentage of cash flow.
Yeah, it is.
Or a multiple
bank,
of cash flow. And that's what the bank looks at. Is this business making money? Are you going to be able to afford the loan payment that I'm going to make for you to buy it?
Yes.
So I would say if you're losing money, well, I'm not sure I could give advice on that. If you're making money, make sure that your books reflect that positive cash flow, because that's what the buyer's buying.
Yeah.
Put yourself in the shoes of the buyer.
Man, you're making this sound like it's so easy.
It's not rocket science. It really isn't.
I think this is, I hope this is energizing for anybody listening. It's like the keys to happiness are really lean into the things that you can take to the customers with joy, get back to that purpose and passion for the original thing, pour that on your team, work side by side, or constantly reinforce that vision with them. Make sure you're doing the right things. Give back is what I'm hearing from you, and then make the business attractive. Final question: do you have any parting happiness insights for weary?
I do.
Business leaders.
The Happiness Lab, she starts off every segment by saying the things that we think are going to make us happy don't make us happy. If we make more money, the studies have shown, multiple studies have shown, there's not a significant happiness, commensurate happiness increase with making more money. But the things that, and there's actually there's been a study, and the study started in the 1940s. One of the original study participants was John F. Kennedy. And what they did is they studied people from the inner city, and they studied the privileged class. John was obviously in the privileged class. And they looked at happiness levels. And what they found, and you would think that the people who were privileged were happier than the people in inner cities, and they didn't find that to be true. And that study is ongoing today. The author there's only been 3 directors of that study. The newest one wrote a book called The Good Life. But what they talk about is the things that we think make us happy aren't making us happy. And so what are the traits of happy people? What can we distill from happy people the things that cause their happiness?
And reverse engineer it.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things is happy people are grateful. They express gratitude. Happy people are generous. They're generous with their time, their talent, or their treasure. Happy people give back. Happy people are involved. The reason you and I are talking is because happy people reach out and have relationships. And I'll talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime. The guy with the get off my yard sign is not a happy person. Who sits on his porch and is miserable because everybody's a jerk out there. Happy people like people. Happy people are involved. They volunteer. They try and build relationships. Happy people. It's interesting because, and I know I'm getting a little off topic here, but one of the psychologists she interviews describes the 3 circles of relationships. There's the immediate family, my husband, my wife, my kids, my parents.
Yeah.
There's the next level, the people, your coworkers, your friends, people you hang out with.
Nate, the camera guy.
Nate, the camera guy. He looks happy.
He is happy.
And then there's that outer circle, the barista, the dry cleaners, the restaurant waitress that you see on a regular basis, the mailman.
Yeah. And
he says, building relationships with every single one of those, it's really important for your level of happiness.
Wow.
And one guy talked about, happiness isn't a destination, it's a journey. And, it's not like, okay, I do a certain thing and then I'm happy, because all of that is fading. You have to practice it on a regular basis. You have to build relationships. You have to say hi to people. You have to find a way to create conversation. Have to ask people about them and their day, and actually express some genuine concern. You have to not pretend. You have to care.
Well, sometimes you have to. I think when you're out of energy, you have to just put those actions in to dig under the surface and find that. And I think we've all been there, where it's just like not another conversation. Like your batteries can be drained by the end of the day, but
right.
It's the
one of the books. Last book I just read was called The Art of Small Talk. Gary Whitaker recommended it to me.
Well, Gary, I have high respect for him.
And Gary's an excellent conversationalist.
Yeah.
But
one of the best. One of the best I've ever met. But.
And you read this book, and nothing in it's earth-shattering. She talks about the study that they did. They gave this guy, he went to a dinner party, and his line, he had to repeat this line, everybody he ran into, what's your sign? Something from the 70s. And they made it so ridiculous that people would go, oh my God, how stupid.
Yeah.
And what they found is people opened up to him based upon just the opening line. The question is irrelevant. It's the effort that you put into it, and that someone actually asks you a question.
That's a highway of emotional exchange.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that emotional exchange actually gives you a shot of dopamine, and it gives you that happiness. It gives you that high that people look for in likes on Facebook or whatever, that they really is. And there's another book I'm reading right now called The Anxious Generation, because they're so involved in their phones. Suicide rates among young boys and young girls has skyrocketed.
It's atrocious. Pandemic.
Yes, it's a pandemic.
It's the new cigarette.
Because they have no social skills. They're not building relationships in face-to-face relationships.
Okay, we're officially changing the title of this as to how to make profit and be happy.
We could do a whole segment on happiness.
We're going to have you back on that.
I'm a fan of happiness.
True story. I didn't know we were going to go there, but I was looking for it in your entrepreneurial story, and I think what I just found out is that it is you as a being, and that obviously permeates to your business and your people and the companies you've built. And I know that the organizations that have been better, you left them better than you found them, and I'm just so grateful you shared that with us today. Man, be generous, be grateful, give back, be involved, find purpose. And I think all of the secrets to profitability and longevity and quicker growth and all the things that we all want for that big dream, I think they happen. And thank you for showing us the way.
Thank you.
Hey, if you enjoyed this, please hit that subscribe button so you can see all of our newest episodes. Forward this to somebody who could use a little nudge towards the light. I know you encountered somebody this week that needs that. Reviews are always welcome and grateful. Hit the like button. We'd like however many stars you feel like giving us on Spotify or Apple or any of those. And if you have any questions for Mark on his experience, first person who sends a question, I'm going to give him a copy of Purpose is Profit. We'll fund that. And then Nate the Camera Guy is going to link to the podcast that you mentioned in the episode, and then also to all the books that you just mentioned. And you're onto something. Read like this man reads, and I think you're going to be in a lot better spot. So we'll be here every Monday answering your marketing, advertising, business growth questions, because marketers who can't teach you why
are just a fancy lie.
Have a great week.